Hello everyone and welcome to another video on my channel. This time it's a follow-up video to the Twitter thingy because now Twitter is back in Brazil. Brazil unbanned Twitter, and I'm doing this video not just because I made one when it was banned, but also because the story behind like the whole process of Twitter getting unbanned was kind of funny as well. If you don't take it seriously, because when you do it gets kind of weird. But anyway, so most people I guess already know by now that Brazil banned Twitter, I think like a month and something like that ago, and I believe it was Wednesday of last week it got unbanned, because it did everything it needed to do to get unbanned through the course of that 1 month, and then it got unbanned and now it's working again. And the whole thing, I talk about it better and more in depth in my other video, but the whole thing that got Twitter banned was the fact that like it didn't ban accounts that were spreading misinformation and stuff like that, and because of that it had to pay some fines for it, and they didn't want to, and then they tried like having no legal representatives in Brazil, so they didn't need to obey the Brazilian laws. But then it didn't work and they got banned. And then the things that the STF, which is like the Supreme Court in Brazil, the things that the STF said Twitter or Elon Musk, whatever, needed to do in order to get X, not Twitter, I forgot, but X unbanned. The most important thing was having like a legal representative in Brazil, pay all the fines, and ban the accounts that they wanted to get banned for various reasons and all of that. And then at first, nothing happened for like I think a week or two. Like nothing happened. It didn't seem like Elon Musk was doing anything, or the X team was doing anything to get the wheels turning again. But then at some point that changed, and they started doing stuff, and then they went after a legal representative, which I believe was the same person as before. I'm not entirely sure, because like I was reading like searching for news every day about this stuff, not only because I wanted to make this video, but also because, as I said on the previous one, I use Twitter a lot, not to spread hate, to be toxic and stuff like that, but because I like seeing fan arts and stuff like that. So I use Twitter a lot, and so for these two reasons I check the news a lot. But I don't remember exactly, because it was like almost a month ago. But apparently they tried contacting a new legal representative and it didn't work out, because they were like talking about it, but then the lawyer that was gonna be the representative just didn't want to do it anymore. And so they started talking to the person who was the legal representative before, and then they started talking, and then they agreed that that person was gonna be the representative again. And then they started looking for paying the fines and all of that. They also wanted to like start looking into the accounts that they were asked to be banned by the STF, and they were doing all this stuff. But in the middle of this, like a bit before all this happened, someday out of nowhere, it was on a Wednesday as well, but according to Twitter or the X team, because X got banned in Brazil, the rest of the Latin America was being affected by it, and so they needed to change some stuff. I'm not gonna go in depth because I don't understand much about it, but it needed to change some stuff in how, I believe it's how people connect to Twitter, something like that. I'm not the best person to talk about this stuff, but anyway. And because of that, a lot of people in Brazil started being able to use X again, and that led to X being fined again. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was a pretty hefty fine, and it was like just like the VPN thing. It was also like they were fined per day that they were circumventing the ban measure, because the STF saw that as Twitter or X trying to, go around and make people in Brazil be able to use X without them needing to do anything, But then again, it didn't work out, and they were fined for it. But they said that it was because they needed to change this stuff for the rest of Latin America. But the STF saw that as, as a attempt to of a tomfoolery, stuff like that. So another fine was added to the mix. But then X tried doing stuff, and then they went and made a official paper to the STF saying that they paid all the fines, they banned the accounts, and that they had a legal representative in Brazil, and they asked to get unbanned. But the STF didn't unban back then because they didn't do everything they needed to do, because they didn't pay all the fines, and one of them was the one for trying to circumvent the ban, and the other fine was I believe a 300,000 reais, which multiply that by 5 and you get the rough amount in dollars. But this 300k fine was aimed for the legal representative, because apparently they were also being fined for taking part in the X not having any legal representatives in Brazil kind of thing, as they did it to try and not abide by the laws. So the legal representative got fined by that as well, since it was the same one as before. And then they needed to pay all these other fines in order to get unbanned. And then it was another week or so until they paid the fines. But the funny thing about this, and this is where it gets really goofy and weird, they apparently paid the fines in the wrong account, which is weird because they already paid a shit ton of fines before in the right account, and then suddenly they paid on the wrong one, which is funny because how would that happen? But according to the X team, they paid on the wrong account because the STF told them to pay on that account, but it was the wrong one. And so the X team needed to contact the bank and tell them to transfer the money to the right account. And it was another half a week or so until, the money got transferred and it went to the right account from a different bank. Another detail that I forgot to point out is that the STF also froze X and Starlink's bank accounts in Brazil. And when the X team said they were going to pay the fines, the STF unfroze those accounts so they could, get the money from, I don't know, the United States, where Elon Musk's bank account is or whatever, and to pay the fines, So I kind of forgot this detail. I don't know what happened to Starlink because, the STF also, I think it's back to normal because, now the Starlink's bank accounts are working again. So yeah, that's a detail I forgot to talk about, the bank accounts being unfrozen to pay the fines because they were frozen before, as when X was banned. So, that's something I forgot. And then they asked the STF if they could get unbanned, and then Alexandre de Moraes said that as long as he didn't exactly say that, but he isn't fond of Elon Musk or X, so he wasn't in a hurry. But there are also other people who needed to say the thing in order for Twitter to get unbanned, and he was fine with it as long as those people are fine with it. So he waited for everyone to, say okay before he did. And then when he did, it took another half a week until X got unbanned for real. and that was, I believe, Wednesday of last week. For some people, it was on Tuesday, but for me, it was on Wednesday. And yeah, it's back. It's working normally. I've been using it because you know, and yeah, it's normal and it's back. So, but I do think that the thing of like, oh, Brazil is back on X, is kind of weird because it's not like Brazil got back. It's more that X got back in Brazil because X, kind of goofed around too much and got banned. They got bunked for being too silly. So I do feel the warm welcome backs. That a lot of people said on Twitter, and it's quite nice. So many people like welcoming the Brazilians back. But I do think it was like as much as it's weird that along the whole process the STF kind of did some stuff that was weird. X was weirder, and Elon Musk was even worse. So I put the blame on X on this one, but that's the full story, I guess. So to summarize everything, basically they tried changing the DNS thingy for people to connect with X in Latin America. The STF saw that as they're trying to go around the ban. They got fined, but they, I don't know, didn't realize it at first, or they just tried to keep it down so STF would have noticed. But then they paid all the fines, not all the fines, but most of the fines, and set a legal representative and banned the account that the STF asked to ban. After that, the STF saw that and saw the official paper that they wrote and said like, hey, there's some things missing. You still need to pay other fines here. And so they went after paying those fines, but then they paid in the wrong bank account. So they needed to transfer the money to the right bank account. And then the STF said, okay. So that's the summarized version. So, but yeah, that's the whole story. And yeah, X is back. Hope I was able to explain it a bit, because sometimes I start rambling and I don't know if I did a good job at explaining the story, but hopefully I did. And yeah, that's about it. See you in another video or a stream. I don't know. Goodbye.